Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Cougar Textbook Access Program Town Hall. It looks like we have about 23 attendees at the moment. Our Q&A looks like it's open. If I could just have somebody type in yes, that you can see our presentation. We just want to make sure that our technical side is going okay and that you can see our cover slide for the flat rate Cougar Textbook Access Program. I am not seeing anything. Oh, there we go. Somebody said yes. All right, perfect. Thank you so much. Yay. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Deb Hubler. I am the Executive Director for Auxiliary Services, and I'm very happy to be talking to you today about an exciting new program that we have coming up that's going to be kicking off in fall of 2023. I have joining me today, in case I need backup, Dr. Chandra Smith-Adams, who is a Program Director for Auxiliary Services, Roger Harvey, who is the Director of Access Solutions for Follett Higher Education. Follett is the provider that helps to manage our campus store. And then we also have Samantha Eads, our campus store manager for your UH campus store, sitting on standby if we end up having questions that we need their assistance in answering. But to get started, we wanted to give you some background on what the Cougar Texas Access Program is. So Chandra, if you could go on to the next slide. So basically, it's a program that is going to provide access to all required course materials for all undergraduate students before the first day of class. And it's going to be available to them all for one low flat fee each semester. And we'll go over the fees in an upcoming slide. But what's included is course materials are going to be provided in a digital format as long as the material is available in a digital format. And that includes clickers if there are some faculty who like to use the clickers to go and help manage attendance and programs and things like that. And then where digital materials are not available, physical materials will be provided. And the physical materials that are being provided are going to be owned by the student. So it's going to be digital prioritized and then physical materials second if digital is not available, and the physical materials will be for the students to keep. They will not be rentals. And if we could go on to the next slide, this actually, the fall 2023 all-in flat fee program, it's an expansion of a pilot program that we started in spring of 2022. And just to give you a little background and context to how this came to be, there was a task force that was co-chaired, or excuse me, it's still in place. So it is co-chaired by my boss, Dr. Emily Mesa, who is the Senior Associate Vice Chancellor for Administration, and Dr. Terry Longacre, who is the Vice Provost and Dean for Undergraduate Student Success. And then we had representation on the task force from all of the different areas that we thought would be either impacted by this program or from areas that we would need their support to get something going as a pilot program. And so we had representation from the bursar's office, financial aid, the registrar's office, libraries and open educational resources, student government leadership. We had student and faculty representation from our bookstore advisory committee. We had the faculty senate president on there, student affairs and campus solutions who does the programming for us. So pretty comprehensive representation on that task force. The task force was called the Learning Materials Affordability Task Force. And the ultimate goal was to find a way to help increase affordability and access to our students as they relate to course materials. And so the idea of implementing an access program came out from that task force. We first met in October of 2020, so it's been 3.5 years, coming up on 4 in the making to get this flat fee program kicked off for fall of 23. So excuse me, 3 years. So we're really excited that we've gotten this far. And what you see on the screen here are the results, the cumulative results of the 4 semesters that we've had the pilot in place. And so the pilot program was not an all-in program. It was just a few courses in each semester based on voluntary participation by faculty or departments. And so when we add up the totals for all the different courses and sections that participated from spring of 22 through spring of 23 semesters, there were 227 total courses represented, 594 sections within those 227 courses. There were over 52,000 students that were, there were about 54,000 students that were enrolled in those classes and 52,454 participating students, meaning that those students did not choose to opt out of the program. Because it is a voluntary program, while students are automatically opted in, they do have the opportunity to opt out if they feel they don't want to participate in the program for some reason. It could be maybe they have the material from a previous class, or they borrowed it from somebody, or maybe they just found it and purchased it elsewhere. So we had just about 1,500 students that opted out over the course of those 4 semesters, which gave us a 98% participation rate. So it has it is proven to be very popular with both students and faculty. And when we look at the savings that were experienced each semester by students over what they would have paid for a new retail book, the savings has been almost $3 million over the course of the 4 semesters that we've had the pilot program in place with select classes. And then Chandra, if you'll go on to the next slide, we wanted to show you some survey results. So every semester we have surveyed both the students and the faculty to get their take on how they felt about the program, to see, is this something that we want to expand for future? And we had 16, we surveyed all of the students and all of the faculty that were in all of those 227 courses. We had 1,663 students that participated and 23 faculty that participated in the survey. So of those students that responded, 88% of those students had participated in the program, meaning that they did not opt out of the program. They stayed in the program. And then of the 12% of those students who opted out, 60% that they would not have opted out knowing what they know now. So I think part of the reason that some of the students chose to opt out is they just didn't really understand the program because it was new and they didn't really know what it meant. But after having gone through the semester and understanding what the program was, and that they basically are paying a low fee to have their materials automatically provided to them, they were like, wow, this is great. I wish I hadn't have opted out. So that was a promising statistic for us. And then also 69% of students agreed or strongly agreed that they felt more prepared for class because of CTAP. So basically they had their materials prior to the first day of class. They didn't have to worry about where am I going to get it? How much is it going to cost? They knew all of that information up front. And 65% of faculty agreed that their students were more prepared for class because of CTAP. And then 87% of the faculty said that they believe that the CTAP method of course delivery fared better for them than other methods of obtaining course materials. 83% of the faculty surveyed, they agreed or strongly agreed that they were better able to plan for their courses because they knew that their students were going to have access to materials by the first day of class. And we actually one of our big advocates for it, I don't know if he's on here or not, his name is Dr. Amari Lindas. He's a big believer in the program, and we've brought him to talk to other faculty members about it to kind of let them know what his experience was. And he has shared that, he's happy that he can give quizzes to his students on day 2 because he doesn't have to spend as much time on day 1 explaining the materials, where to go and all that kind of stuff. So he's been very pleased with having his classes participating with this Cougar Textbook Access Program. And then the big kicker for us was that the students said 85% of the students said that they would like to see all of their classes offered with CTAP included. And so with all of this information and data behind us, we went back to the task force and it was agreed that we wanted to expand the program into a way that it would be available to as many students as we could, because previously, as I mentioned in the pilot, it was just voluntary based on faculty volunteering for participation. We got approval from administration and we took this to the Board of Regents and we got it approved to kick off for all undergraduate students starting in fall of 2023. And if you go on to the next slide, Chandra. We're sharing like what are some of the benefits, like why is this program is it proven to be so popular? Why has it received so much support from the people who have participated and from administration? And one of the reasons is because it's transparent, right? So students know upfront how much they pay per semester price, and it is regardless of major or number of semester credit hours taken. So, you know, we've heard kind of anecdotal stories that students may actually decide on a major depending on how much materials may cost, because there are some majors where we just know that the price of the course materials can be way more expensive than other disciplines. And so some students actually may have to choose a major that is not their first choice because they're thinking, I'm not going to be able to afford to pay for the course materials related to it. So they know upfront exactly how much they need to pay for it. And we thought that that was a big benefit of the program. It's affordable. So because it's open to everyone, we were able to negotiate really good pricing for this. And it's accessible, meaning, and it's equitable. So the students pay the same price regardless of any other factors that may be there for, you know, regardless of economic conditions or regardless of your major, everyone is paying the same price. It's convenient. We also heard anecdotally from focus groups and just talking to student government and whatnot that not everyone likes to shop around. They don't want to have to think about where they're going to have to get their textbooks from, you know, and sometimes it may be that they're being sent in this class to go to this publisher's website, and somebody else may say, well, you need to go to this website to get your material, and some may need to go to the campus store to get their materials, and some may be like, well, I'm going to go to Amazon and see what I can find on Amazon. And especially, I think if you're a freshman or if you're a transfer student, that can become really overwhelming. You know, you've got all this new things that you're experiencing, you know, coming to University of Houston for the first time. The last thing you want to think about is, where am I going to have to go to get my textbooks and how much are they going to cost? So we heard that the convenience of it is one of the biggest factors that students really appreciated. And it's flexible, so it is not a mandatory program. So I mentioned when we were talking about the pilot that we had in place, that there were some students that chose to opt out of the program, and that is going to be the case for the flat fee program. So while all students, when they register for classes, they're automatically going to be opted into the program, they will easily be able to opt out of the program if they decide it's not for them. And it could be, you know, that a student may be taking 5 classes, and maybe there's only one class that has required course materials, and maybe it's only going to cost $75 for the materials in that class. And so they're going to look and they're going to be like, okay, I can pay $299 if I stay in, or I can opt out and I only have to pay $75. And so students can choose to opt out of it semester by semester based on whatever they feel is best for them in that particular semester. And then it's financial aid eligible. And this was also huge because what we also heard, you know, as we talk to students about the struggles that they face with obtaining their course materials, is financial aid cannot be used directly with the campus store to get your course materials. So if you are a student who's depending on financial aid to purchase your course materials, you have to wait until you get a refund of any overage that you have on financial aid before you can make that purchase. And refunds don't happen until what we call the 12th class day or ORD, or official reporting day, which means that students can go 2.5 weeks theoretically without being able to have their course materials because they can't afford it, or they have to put it on a credit card, or they have to go through the extra step of you know, getting a book loan, which is something that we have available through the campus store and financial aid. So with this new program that we have, the fee for CTAP goes onto the student fee bill, meaning that they can apply their financial aid or scholarship awards directly to that fee, and then they don't have to worry about where am I going to get the money because I have to wait until I get my financial aid refund to pay for it. And so that was huge for us as well. And then moving on to what are the benefits for faculty, because it's a big thing for faculty as well, right? We wanted to make sure that faculty were going to be able to preserve their academic freedom. That was made very clear to us, and we 100% supported that. We know it's important for faculty to be able to choose whatever materials they think are best for their students to learn whatever it is that they're teaching. So this does preserve faculty choice. So faculty members do not have to change the the process that they use to select their materials. They submit their information, their titles to the campus store the same way they always have done. Our deadlines are remaining the same. Hopefully, if there's faculty on this call, these are dates that are familiar to you. We passed our summer deadline. You can still submit them, by the way, if you haven't done so. But the earlier you get the course materials in, typically pre-CTAP, the better that we have, the better chance that we have of getting inventory for the books that are going to be used, because used books tend to be the most affordable for students. And there's a lot of different universities and colleges that are fighting for that same used book inventory. And so CTAP helps to kind of alleviate that issue, because we have a good idea of how many students are going to be participating, and then most of it's going to be digital anyway, and it just really helps us with making sure that we are able to get all of the learning materials into our students' hands before the first day of class. Desk copies are still going to be available to faculty at no cost. The only change that might need to be made is that you just, if it's something that's going to be in a digital format, you would need to have the most current edition for that. I don't think that that's going to be too much of an issue. What we've heard from faculty is that sometimes they choose older editions because they're thinking it's going to be more affordable to their students, because they know that used books are the more affordable options. But at the same time, it can be harder for us to source those because, like I said, there's a lot of competition to get those used books. And so sometimes it makes it hard for a student to find the exact material. So the only change is that if you're using a second or a third edition, you would need to use the first edition of whatever material that you're using. Ancillary materials, PowerPoints, quizzes, test banks, those are all going to be delivered in the same manner. The materials are going to be available. I think it's not a secret. I think everybody knows that we are switching to Canvas full on come this summer. It's going to be available digitally through Canvas. And then a big benefit, again, you heard me tell the story about Dr. Lindas being able to do quizzes on day 2 of class. Your students are going to come in prepared for learning on day 1, because you're going to be assured that the majority of them are going to be participating in CTAP, and they are going to have their materials before the first day of class. So what's it going to cost? So for fall and spring, it's a flat fee of $299 for each semester, and for summer it's $180. And again, we have a communication plan that is currently in place. There's a lot of outreach that we are doing. We're having these town halls. My boss and Dr. Mesa and Dr. Longacre, they have done a lot of outreach already, talking to Faculty Senate and Council of Chairs and to the orientation team and a lot of different areas. And we're going to continue to do outreach and some communication out so everyone is aware of the change in the way the course materials are going to be delivered starting with the fall. Also, we will make clear to students that they will have the opportunity to opt out. We'll give instructions on how they can opt out. The opt-out window opens 2 weeks prior to the first day of class, and they can opt out all the way through the 12th class day or ORD, or official reporting day. So they'll have about a month to make the decision on if they want to stay in or out. They can opt in or out anytime during that period. They can change their mind as long as they do it prior to that 12th class day. And it's a really easy process for them to opt out. There's in the LMS, there's a student account button. There's a CTAP tab there. They just have to click on the CTAP tab, and there's an opt-out button. They click it, it will opt them out of the program. And just FYI for you, all the students are going to have access to the digital materials up until the opt-out period ends. So even if they have opted out, they're still going to be able to see the materials and kind of try it out, maybe like on a trial, on a free basis, because they can choose to opt out if they're like, I don't think I need this, or I think I can get this elsewhere. They will have access to the digital materials, but if they have opted out and they're opted out on the opt-out deadline, then that access goes away. So we want to make sure everybody knows that too, because sometimes I think students see that access and they think, oh, I opted out, but I'm going to get it for free. Well, that is not the case. They don't get it for free. They only have access to it until ORD, or the last day to drop add. And if they have opted out, that access will go away, and they'll go back in after the deadline passes, and they won't have access to it anymore. So we want students and faculty to be aware of that so they know. And then our last slide here, it's just kind of basically going through the very basic steps. So as we've mentioned, faculty will adopt the materials the same way that they always do. Submit your titles or no titles, because we also want to know if you don't have any materials that you're requiring. We want that information submitted to the campus store. And then also, if you have been reading emails with my name on it, you'll see that there's actually an incentive program that we have in place, sponsored by the Office of Administration, where we are giving out for the first, not the first 10, we are going to do a random drawing if there are 10 departments that turn all of their adoptions in by that deadline for fall, which is April 15th. And that is for a $500 credit for catering. So there's a little bit of incentive to help make sure you get those titles into the campus store by April 15th. And then students register for classes. They will have the option to opt out through ORD. If they don't opt out, the fee, well, yeah, the fee is going to load anyway, because I think the fees load prior to the first day of class, but their fee bill will be adjusted if they end up opting out of the program. And then as far as how they will get their materials accessed, for digital materials, they'll be able to access that through the learning materials, their LMS. For physical materials, they're going to get emails from the campus store letting them know when they're ready for pickup, and then they'll be able to go to the campus store to pick up the materials, or if they want to have them shipped to them, they'll be able to have the materials shipped to them for a flat fee. And then Follett will bill us, because basically Follett is still providing the materials to us, but we're collecting it through the university channels instead of the students going directly to Follett. And then we'll transfer the money over to Follett for services rendered. And so that is a kind of high level overview of the program. We do have a pretty, I think, comprehensive website. That is our website address. We also have on that website a list of FAQs, which we continue to work on, because the FAQs, you know, we've had the program in place as a pilot. It's a little bit different structure with the all-in flat fee that includes physical materials. So we are continuing to update our FAQs as we work out the logistics for the program, but there is a lot of information available on the website. We also have a special email address for CTAP related questions that come both to our auxiliary services office and also to the campus store. So we will make sure to answer your question regardless of what that question is related to CTAP. There's a phone number that you can call if you want to talk to somebody and ask questions. And then we also are planning a couple more town halls to talk about this as well. We have one scheduled for next week, Thursday, April 6th at 3, and then another one on Tuesday, April 11th at 1. But in the meantime, let's see, and thank you for all the people who let me know that we can see our presentation. Okay, so I'm going to go through and start looking through the questions that are being asked. I see a question: can graduate students participate? So currently this program is only available to undergraduates, and the reason for that is because when we did a cost analysis of what it would cost for graduates to participate, it didn't make sense financially. It would have been very expensive for graduates to participate. And so we're going to continue to monitor that. And maybe that's something that we could take a look at doing for future. But right now, we decided not to do it for graduate students because it was not going to be a cost savings to students to have this program apply to graduate students. Is the $299 rate for each course? No, that is the rate for the entire semester. So for example, if you're a student and you're taking 5 classes, and let's say every single one of those classes has a textbook that you're required to buy, and if you were to go out onto the open market, so if you were to go to Amazon, or if you were to go to our campus store and purchase it, it might cost you independently $500 or $600 to buy them all independently, class by class. With a CTAP program, you pay $299 and that's it. So it doesn't matter what the cost is if you were to buy them independently. We negotiated with Follett to provide this $299 rate for every undergraduate student, unless they choose to opt out. And is there a maximum number of courses a student can take per term? I don't know the academic answer to that. There is no limit on the CTAP side. So when I was in school many moons ago, we were allowed to take 18 credits, and then I think if we wanted, or 18 to 21, I think if we wanted to do more than that, we had to get permission to like do an overload of credits. If that's the same way it is here, it doesn't matter from the CTAP perspective. So if you're taking 22 or 23 credits, you still are paying that $299 fee. Okay. So I am going to see, there's a question here related to access codes. So if a student chooses to opt out, how are they going to purchase the access code? Samantha, do you want to take on that question?
Absolutely. So if a professor has elected to use an access code for their course and the student chooses to opt out of the program, at the bookstore side of things, we can still work with that student to get them the access that they need for the course. They would purchase the access code and then have to go into the system and enter that code like they do today.
And I hope that answers your question. Like I said, if we're not being clear in some of our answers, or if you still have additional questions that come from what we're answering, type more questions in, or you can call us or email us with additional questions. The other question is that, can faculty using OER add publisher materials to their course as optional? Will these be covered under CTAP? So OER, you should not add it as optional. You should add it as required. If it's optional, it is not covered under CTAP. So OER goes hand in hand with CTAP. And I will say that the more faculty, so this $299 fee, it's not necessarily going to stay $299 forever. I can tell you it's not going to go up, but it could go down. And the reason for that is because, you know, we're kind of trying to guess at how many students are participating, and there, you know, there's a little bit of a hedge in there because we're not sure how many students may choose to opt out. But typically, as we get better information on course materials that are being used and the number of students that participate in the program, we can fine tune the fee. And we have seen at other schools that it has gone down. And OER will help it to go down because OER are either low or no cost materials, right? Open educational resources. So if you have OER materials that you can use for your class, absolutely add them on as required course materials, and that will be covered under the CTAP fee. And then you mentioned that some majors are cheaper. Do you have cost per major semesters publicly available? I don't know if we track that, Samantha. I just know anecdotally that, you know, if you're taking biology or chemistry or a STEM class, those books tend to be quite a bit more expensive than perhaps a reading, you know, an English book.
Yeah, on my side, I don't have that information readily available.
And another question, is this just for undergraduates? Yes, it is currently just for undergraduates. Can we opt in and get a digital and physical copy? So if you are opted in and you want a hard copy of something, you can make that request individually on a case-by-case basis, and you can get it. It usually will be like a loose leaf copy of the material for a small upcharge. So physical materials are not included with digital materials if digital is available. We typically find that I don't think we had anybody that requested a physical copy of anything. Samantha, you can correct me if I'm wrong, for our pilot program, or maybe there were a couple of people that might have asked.
I did not have a single student request a print upgrade, but it is an optional item that we could work on with those students individually.
Yes, so but yeah, so you cannot get a book and digital access at the same time. If there's digital materials available, that is what is included with the CTAP fee. You could get a loose leaf bound, you know, like a loose leaf bound set of papers for an upcharge, and that fee varies depending on the publisher and what that material is. Question is, do students opt out for one course or all their courses for the term? So it is a flat fee for everything. So if they choose to opt out, they're opting out of the entire program. You cannot opt out course by course. What if a student withdrew? So we follow the same refund guidelines as the university calendar, the academic calendar. So students can, if they withdraw, they will get their fee bill will be adjusted based on when they withdrew. What if I don't want my students to use an ebook? So the program is set up so that ebook is required if it is available. So there's not an option for students to there's not an option to submit a physical material if there is an ebook available for that. But you will, as a faculty member, you would still have access to a physical desk copy. And just to clarify, you mentioned that students can have a trial of the program up to the ORD, even if they opt out of the program before the ORD. That is correct. Yes, so the digital access will remain open for all students through ORD. So even if they opt out and the system shows that they're opted out, they still will have access to the digital materials through ORD. If on that ORD date they continue to be opted out, the day after ORD passes, that access goes away. Can students purchase directly from the publisher? No, they cannot. Everything has to be run through the campus store. We have an exclusive agreement with Follett to be the exclusive course materials sales place for the entire University of Houston system. How long do students have access to digital books? So currently, we know that they will have access at least through the entire semester. It may be longer than that, and I'm going to ask Roger if we have any new information related to the request that we had to have extended access to the digital materials.
I don't have any updated information since our last conversation, Deb, but we are actively working with publishers to have extended timelines on ebooks, and we will update any of our marketing and FAQs to address those questions for the future as we learn more. We're expecting answers in the next few months. Okay.
So more to come on that. I mean, for sure, of course, obviously they will have it through the entire semester if they stay opted into the program, potentially longer based on Follett's negotiations with our publishers. And then there's a follow-up question. If they use OER, my question was adding publisher extras that I don't currently use as optional, so it's available as an extra. Samantha, I don't know if that, are you aware of what the person is requesting? That might require maybe more of an offline conversation.
Yeah, I believe that would be more of a let's meet and chat about it so I can get a full understanding of the in-depth conversation there.
Will fee be prorated? The fee is not prorated in any way except for potentially on refunds. So like I said, we're following the same refund schedule as a university. So if a student withdraws and they're like at the 50%, the date that they withdrew is at that 50% rate and they didn't opt out of the program, they would still be charged 50% of that fee. So if a student decides to withdraw, they hopefully would withdraw before any penalties would apply. But if not, then we would want them to opt out so they don't get charged for CTAP if they end up withdrawing. Samantha, question, does this include access to platforms like MyLab or Pearson?
Yes, those are, MyLab is with Pearson. It's a type of courseware. It would be included.
And then question is, if the students are automatically opted into CTAP, what and when decision does the course instructor need to do or make for the course to be in CTAP? In other words, what action is required on the instructor's part? The only thing you have to do is submit your title as required course material. And because this is going to apply to all undergraduates, just by supplying your course material information to the campus store, your title is going to be included as part of the CTAP program. Is this presentation recording going to be, ooh, you know what? I forgot to hit record. So we will record the next town hall. Somebody remind me, please. And yes, we will put the recording for the next town hall online so people can come back and refer to it. Thank you for that question. I totally forgot to hit record. A student cannot directly publish. That disadvantages those who want to buy used. It also disadvantages those who want to use Cengage Unlimited, for instance, where they would get a discount for a full year. So that is going to be up to the individual student to decide. So, we mentioned that they can opt out semester by semester. And if a student looks at what their required course materials are, and if they look and say, well, I can get the material from this area, from this way, then I think that I'm going to opt out and get the material this way. For the Cengage, Samantha or Roger, I don't know the answer to that. Would they still be able to do those kinds of subscriptions with CTAP?
I'll take that. So we work with our vendor partners as the best option for the students. And so we are still working with Cengage to see if Cengage Unlimited would make sense within this model. At a cost perspective, I'm not sure at the moment, but we will have those conversations with Cengage. Okay,
thank you. And then, and I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name, but Amis Filvegi said that they will email about OER and Cengage. So thank you for that. That might be an easier conversation to have one-on-one. Can we opt into the program for classes on a case-by-case basis, or do we have to use CTAP for all courses? Can we pay for CTAP by course, or does it have to be all for one basis? It is all for one. So it is a flat fee for all of your courses. You cannot opt in and get like prorated $2.99 divided by 5 and decide I'm going to opt out of these 2 and stay in for these 3. It's $2.99 for all of your classes, or you opt out and then you just purchase individually outside. And you can still go to Follett, by the way, and purchase. They will still have materials available. It's just that you will be paying the retail price for it versus having the CTAP fee cover your course materials, if that makes sense. Samantha, it says in a related McGraw webinar yesterday, they said that Proctorial Plus is included in Inclusive Access CTAP, so that is an additional $15 student savings. Can you clarify that?
I will need to partner with McGraw. I'm not sure of Proctorio Plus. I'm familiar with McGraw Connect, unless Roger knows a little more on that part. But we have been talking about additional upgrade options if there was something that was outstanding that they would drop the price on. So that might be what it's referring to.
And to add clarification, it would not change the fee to the student. We will work with the publisher, and as long as the faculty adopt the material correctly, we'll provision that material.
Okay, so that would be included in the CTAP fee, basically.
Correct, as long as it's adopted.
Okay. Will point solution subscription fees be included in CTAP?
We'll need to work with the faculty member on that one on a one conversation. I'm not sure what that is, to be very honest. Okay.
It says Proctorial Plus, is there video monitoring for exam? That's $15 per student. Yeah, so it sounds like, like you said, as long as that is submitted as a required part of the course, then that should be covered by the CTAP fee. Okay, well, I don't see any more questions. We wanted to thank everybody for joining us today. I hope you found this session useful. Really appreciate your questions and the interest in the program. Again, feel free to reach out to us and we can have one-on-one conversations with you if you still have some ambiguity, or if there's, if we weren't clear enough on any of the information that we were giving to you. I'm happy to have conversations with anybody. And we are, again, super excited. I know that the feedback we've gotten from the students are really excited about the program. Even if they think that they might opt out themselves, they've said they know that it can help their fellow students save money, and they were really happy to have something in place like this, especially that financial aid could be used against it as well. So Well, anyway, thanks very much. And maybe some of you will join us at our next town hall. But again, reach out to us if you have any additional questions. Thank you very much for joining us today.